for the snow.
I love snow.
I remember you mentioning that, Scott.
Yes.
I actually like the snow too. Don't know about 24 inches. That might be kind of.
Yeah, we'll
lot.
probably get, yeah, I think we'll get probably 12 to 16, something like that. So if it's light snow, I don't mind it. It's when it's really heavy and wet.
Yeah, I'm
That's-
hoping it's really cold, so I'm expecting light and fluffy.
Me too.
Yeah, I
Me
think
too.
that's what
So
they
that's
said.
not so bad. And it's nice, it should be, there should be snow on the ground at Christmas. That's the way it should be.
That's an agreement.
And of course, I'll be going skiing pretty soon. So we want to make sure that we have some snow up at Gore.
I tried snowboarding once. It was a disaster, and I never did it again.
Well, you ought to try skiing. I understand skiing is easier. I've never tried snowboarding, but
Yeah, that's what they say. I did snowboarding because when I was a kid, I used to stand up on the sled going downhill. So I thought I was a natural snowboarder, but it's quite different.
yes. Well, you ought to give it a go. Skiing's fun.
Yeah, John's a big skier. He says he enjoys doing it.
Hey, Tim. Hey, Catherine.
Hello, all.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Hi,
Catherine.
Catherine.
Hey, Catherine.
Hi, Scott.
Yes, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Tim, is John coming tonight?
I don't see.
I believe so.
Okay.
Hey, Liz,
Yeah.
can you come help?
What's the problem?
It's all muted.
You're not muted. We can hear you.
I can hear you. Oh, no, they're talking. Get on and off for a minute.
Good evening, friends.
Hey, Dave.
Good evening.
We can hear you, Tim Allenbrook. Can you hear
Let's
us?
see one. There we go.
There you is.
Here I is. How is everybody?
I'm
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Ready for the snow?
gonna try re-entering.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm just going to push all mine onto Scott's lawn.
Nice.
The other thing is, oh, that's right.
Actually, it's easier to push it on Olga's lawn.
That's true.
Closer.
That's true.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
good. That was a problem on my end.
Yeah, we've been having some trouble. We actually got a new modem Sunday. The guy came out because it's really been, the service has been terrible.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been using your modem. It works fine, Scott.
There he is. Hey, John.
Hey, hi,
Hi,
John.
John.
Everything's ready.
We ready to go? Is it 7 o'clock?
7:01.
7:01. Okay, we might as well start the show.
Let everybody in.
Yeah, let everybody in.
Okey doke.
That it?
That's everybody.
Okay. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for December 16th, 2020. Before I begin the first part of the business, I want to read the opening statement that is required as a result of the COVID situation. And it goes as follows. I have confirmed with the ZBA Council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing, and the Governor's Executive Order 202.79, which extends such suspension until January 1. As such, there is no in-person meeting for the ZBA, and this meeting is being conducted via Zoom video conferencing. In accordance with these executive orders, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's public meeting via Zoom or to watch a live stream of the meeting on the town's webpage. In furtherance with the executive order, a transcript will be made at a later date. This meeting's agenda has been duly noticed on the town's webpage, which notice was accompanied by information as to how to access and view this meeting. And with that, I will call the meeting to order. And before I get to the minutes, I want to acknowledge Dave Tobias, even though he doesn't want me to. He has served with distinction for 5 years, and he has had the good sense to not re-up for another 5 years, and he is leaving us tonight, but he's done a great job in the 5 years he's been with us. And has devoted many hours to helping this board and helping this community in this public service. So I just wanted to commend him on that. I'm not sure who is going to be able to take over for him, and in particular, his specialty of asking and determining where the septic systems are. But I'm sure one of us will take over that great responsibility. And anyway, I just wanted to seriously just thank Dave for his time and all the work he's done. I roped him into this since he's my neighbor, and he's been gracious and has been to all the meetings. I don't think you've even missed one, maybe one, but
Vacation here or there.
yeah, here and there. But you've been great attendance and always doing resolutions, always doing site inspections, and just doing a great job. So we'll miss you. If you reconsider, you can always reconsider and come back.
Thank you. Well, I'll just add that it's been a real pleasure working with all of you, for some of you for 5 years, some of you joined more recently, but Scott, you run a great ship, great captain, and John and Kim, really excellent support, and Chris, of course, couldn't do it without you. Anyway, thank you all. It's been a real pleasure.
And unfortunately, due to COVID, in the past, when members left, we got to go to either the Beekman Arms or some other watering hole and have drinks. But oh well, another victim of COVID. We can't do that. But maybe in the spring or something, we'll have a reunion.
There you go.
Anyway, let me get to the minutes. And did everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes as revised? Okay. Any corrections, concerns, or comments about the minutes?
I have one comment, unless I was looking at a downstream version, where it says we all approved the meeting dates for next year. I think Tim Ellenbrook, you were also here and approved those, and I don't think it said that on the copy I was looking at. Tim, you were at the last, Tim.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Well,
You
he's
didn't
listed-
approve the minutes because you weren't there the time before, but I think when we approved the meetings, you joined us in that.
Got it.
So that was the
Got
only
it.
thing I saw.
Okay, and by the way, before I before I make a motion to approve the minutes, I should probably do a roll call, and just to make sure we have a quorum, which I know we do. We have all 5 members. I am present. Tim Econopoli, are you here?
Present.
All right, and Catherine Clark,
Here.
Tim Allenbrook,
Here.
and David Tobias for the time being.
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that one correction, I will make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for the November 18th, 2020 meeting. Do I have a second?
Here.
All right. And I'll do a roll call on that. Let's see. Tim Econopoli,
Yes.
Tim Allenbrook,
Yeah.
Catherine Clark,
Yes.
David Tobias,
Aye.
and yes for me as well. So the meeting minutes are approved. All right. We have a very odd situation where we have no new business. We have no public hearings. And we have two pieces of old business. The first is the Barrett resolution. And fittingly, the Barrett resolution is going to be read by Dave. It's his last one. And Dave, if you could just take it away.
All right. Thank you. Here we go. I'm going to channel Laurence Olivier. Resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of the area variance application of Hannah Barrett and Laurel Sparks, ZBA case number 1006. Whereas, background, applicant. The applicant is Hannah Barrett and Laurel Sparks, here and after the applicant. The applicant is seeking an area variance to locate an accessory structure, a 24 by 21 foot shed, closer to the side boundary than setbacks allow. The subject application and request for variance results from the determination letter from the Town of Rhinebeck zoning enforcement officer dated October 5th, 2020, which noted that town ordinance requires that accessory structures be no closer than 75 feet from the side boundary. The proposed shed would be as close as 17 feet from the side boundary, requiring a 58-foot variance. Property involved. The property, the appeal involves property located at 317 Mill Road, Rhinebeck, New York, which bears tax parcel number 13509606900990400 quadruple zero. The applicant's property is approximately 0.74 acres in size and is located in the RA10 zoning district. The applicant is represented by Ms. Barrett. The applicant seeks to erect a 24-foot by 21-foot shed as close as 17 feet from the property's side boundary. By letter dated October 5th, 2020, the ZEO advised the applicant that the project required one area variance in order to locate the accessory structure 58 feet inside the 75-foot side yard setback, which is required by section 125.27A2 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. Timeliness of appeal. On October 5th, 2020, the ZEO determined that an area variance was required as the accessory structure was close to the side yard as required under zoning law 127.27A2. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on October 5th, 2020, and has paid the requisite fee. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the ZEO's determination, and thus the application is timely as required under section 125.125B of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. The applicant provided the ZBA with presentation on October 21st, 2020, on which date the ZBA deemed the application complete. Secret and planning board approval. This application was simultaneously before the town planning board for a special use permit and site plan approval, and we have designated the planning board as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SECRA. On November 16, 2020, the planning board classified this action as a type 2 action. The ZBA accepts the planning board's classification and no further environmental review is required pursuant to SECRA. The application was referred to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board on October 26, 2020, and was reviewed by the planning board on November 16th of this year, responding on the same date with findings that the requested variance raised no significant planning concerns, but does raise potential environmental concerns related to the WRO overlay standards, which are to be assessed by the planning board, and recommended that the ZBA rely on its own study of the facts. The application was also referred to the Conservation Advisory Board, the CAB, by the Planning Board on November 18th of this year. The CAB subsequently responded via undated memo stating that CAB member Joe Kupiec had visited previously the subject property on November 6th of this year, and that the property is located in the local waterfront revitalization program, or LWRP, but that the project will have no impact on the LWRP area. That the property is not in the 100-year floodplain, nor located near any federal or DC wetlands, and that no areas of historical or archaeological significance will be impacted by this project, end quote. Site visit. ZBA members Catherine Clark and Scott Bergen on November 11th of this year and Dave Tobias on December 5th of this year visited the applicant's property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, settings, surrounding environment, and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Public hearing. A public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and held on November 18th of this year. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing was held virtually pursuant to New York State Executive Order number 202.1, which suspended certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene meetings during the current pandemic via video conferencing and or telephone conferencing. It was afforded the opportunity to view and participate during this public hearing. No one from the public was present with comments for the application, and the public hearing was closed on November 18th, 2020. Findings of fact and conclusions of law. Balancing test. In our review of the variance sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variance was granted, as weighed against detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We have determined that the variance requested should be granted because there is no detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by the granting of this variance. Consideration of the 5 factors in the balance test. In our determination, we have considered the 5 factors required by section 125-124C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. A, if the variance is granted, will it cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find the answer to this question is no. Shed will be visible from Mill Road, but its placement and design will be in keeping with the neighborhood and other structures in the area. B, can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? We find the answer to this question is no. The property is small enough that any placement of a shed is likely to require variance from local code and would likely be seen by neighbors and or from Mill Road, but the proposed location is as far from the road as possible given the topography of the site. C, is the requested area variance substantial? We find the answer to this question is no, given the small lot size and limited available suitable locations due to topography. This is the best location for the shed. D, will the proposed variance have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find the answer to this question is no. While the shed will be visible from 1 or 2 neighboring lots and from Mill Road, it is relatively small and unobtrusive. E, number 5, is the alleged difficulty self-created? We find the answer to this question is yes. However, given the topography of the property, there is no other reasonable place to put the shed. Minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing test above, we must also determine if the requested variance is the minimum variance necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find that the answer to this question is yes. Proposed shed is not inappropriate or unexpected for properties that lack significant expansion areas within or surrounding the residences. It is noted that roughly half the nearby residential properties on the same side of Mill Road appear to have sheds, though most are in the backyards rather than side yards. The size and design of the subject shed will be in keeping with surrounding properties and structures and the nature of the neighborhood, and the new fence erected on the subject property will reduce, though not eliminate, visibility of the shed from Mill Road. The topography of the land precludes the placement elsewhere on the property. Result of the balancing tests, based on our analysis of the 5 factors we discussed above and the consideration of having the minimal variance requested, we find that the balancing test favors granting of the area variance sought. Now, therefore, be it resolved based on all of the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. One, the ZBA hereby grants a 58-foot variance from zoning law 125-27A2, which prohibits the location of an accessory structure closer to the side lot than 75 feet. Benefit to the applicant appears to outweigh any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. The variance is supported by the balancing of the 5 factors discussed above. 2, the granting of the variance is expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application in full compliance with Article 14, fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. This variance shall not be deemed granted until all such fees are paid in full by the applicant. 3, the granting of the variance does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and or approvals. And finally, this variance shall be null and void unless construction pursuant to the plan is begun within 1 year of this resolution. Construction must be in conformity with the site plan, the renderings, the application, and all other information forwarded to the ZBA. I believe we need a motion to approve the resolution and move forward, or discussion.
Yeah, first discussion, and good job on the resolution. I thought it read well and really set forth, the true nature of this thing. Catherine and I went out to the site, and where this shed is proposed is really the only place you could put it. And because of the topography, the roadway is actually up and it's down, so you're not going to see it. And there's some shrubbery and stuff. And to me, it made sense. Where they're placing it, there really isn't another place to do it. And given, as David noted in the resolution, other properties in the area have sheds. And it's actually, it's kind of on the side, but it's actually, as I recollect, and Catherine correct me and David correct me if I'm wrong, well, it's kind of on the side. It's actually kind of in the back too. It's kind of behind a little bit.
It probably lines up with the back of the house, right?
It lines up with the back of the house. So it is kind of in the backyard. It's not like it's parallel, it's right with the house. It's back a bit. So to me, it was an easy call and made sense. But I'd like to hear what the other board members have to say. And
I agree. I think it made sense where they wanted to put it, and the size of it is in keeping with the neighborhood and with the size of their house as well.
Anybody else? Any other comments or concerns?
I have one correction to add.
Okay.
I think on paragraph 9, the second paragraph says that the planning board referred it to the CAB, which they probably did, but I think the ZBA had also referred it to the WAC, which is essentially the same group. So if we could just change it to the ZBA, and I don't know, Chris, if you could let us know when that was referred.
Okay.
How do you want that to read, Kim?
So it should say the application was also referred. It was technically, I think, referred to the WAC, so the waterfront advisory.
Oh, second paragraph of 9.
Yeah.
The application was also referred to the Waterfront Advisory Council?
Committee.
Okay.
By the I guess by the ZBA on whatever date. And then anywhere it says WAC, anywhere it says CAB, just change it to WAC.
We referred the application on October 26th to the WAC.
October 26th. Okay.
Okay, any other comments, concerns, corrections? All right, Dave, you want to make a motion?
Sure. Motion to approve resolution to grant variance in case number 1006.
As read with corrections, and I will second that. And at this time, I'll do a roll call. Tim Econopoli,
Yes.
Tim Allenbrook.
Yes.
I say yes. Catherine Clark, please.
Yes.
And Dave Tobias.
Yes.
All right, good job.
Good job.
Thank you to everybody.
All right, and the last thing we have on the agenda is the resolution for Rhinebeck Villas LLC. And I just, before I start to read the proposed resolution, I just want to thank our legal counsel for their assistance in this case. It's an interesting issue, and they did a lot of research and helped us, and I think incorporated nicely our discussion from the last time around. So anyway, hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a look at the draft, which I will commence reading. This is the resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of the appeal and application for interpretation of Rhinebeck Villas LLC from the determination of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Enforcement Officer dated June 23rd, 2020, stating that guest room, quote unquote, for the hotel use is interpreted to refer to a singular bedroom for the purpose of calculating density on a hotel parcel pursuant to Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-68Z. And this is ZBA case number 1003. Whereas background, 1, the applicant is Rhinebeck Villas LLC, referred to hereinafter as applicant. The applicant is represented before this board by Sean M. Kemp, Esquire, of the firm of law offices of Sean M. Kemp. 2, the appeal involves property located on the west side of New York State 9G, near the intersection of New York State Route 9G and Middle Road in the town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 135089-6171-00-670686. The property is approximately 30.6 acres in area and is located in the Gateway North GW-N zoning district. Paragraph 3, according to the applicant, they are proposing to improve the property with a boutique limited service hotel/motel. A hotel motel use is permitted in the GW-N zoning district, subject to obtaining both special use permit and site plan approval from the planning board. 4, pursuant to the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-68Z, regarding specific standards for hotel or motel, the minimum required for a lot area for the proposed use shall be 10 acres for the first 16 guest rooms, plus an additional 6,000 square feet of lot area for each additional guest room provided. The maximum number of guest rooms shall not exceed 60 rooms. The term guest room is not defined in the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. 2, the question of interpretation presented. During a pre-application sketch plan conference between some members of the planning board and the applicant, the question was raised as to whether some of the proposed guest accommodations, which included multiple rooms such as kitchenette, bedroom, and work/office area with a sleeper sofa, constituted a single guest room for the purposes of determining compliance with zoning law section 125-65Z. Attached as Exhibit 1 to this resolution are the applicant's proposed plans presented and discussed during this pre-application sketch plan conference. Since the planning board is not authorized to make determinations as to how the zoning law should be interpreted, the question was not resolved at the sketch plan conference. 3, the zoning enforcement officer's interpretation determination. Following the sketch plan conference, Michelle Turk, the Town of Rhinebeck zoning enforcement officer, was requested to make an interpretation of zoning law section 125-68Z and whether the multi-room guest accommodation shown on its sketch plan would constitute a single guest room under that section of the zoning law. On June 23rd, 2020, the Rhinebeck ZEO issued a determination on the interpretation question presented. In that determination, she noted that the term guest room is not defined in the zoning law. Hence, she consulted with resources aimed at assisting her in determining the plain and ordinary meaning of the term. In reviewing dictionary definitions for the term guest room, she found that guest room was frequently defined as meaning a single bedroom. She noted that the Merriam-Webster dictionary defined guest room as a bedroom for a person who is invited to visit or stay in someone's home. She also noted that Collins Dictionary defined guest room as a bedroom in a house or hotel for visitors or guests to sleep in. The ZEO further determined that a primary function of the guest room numbers set forth in zoning law section 125-68Z was to use the number of bedrooms as a means of regulating and limiting the density or intensity of use to be allowed on a parcel of land to be used as a hotel. Thus, the ZEO determined that the addition of sleeper sofas in rooms separate from the bedrooms in Rhinebeck Villa's proposed plans created 2 guest rooms. Based on this rationale, she determined that the guest accommodations depicted on Rhinebeck Villa's proposed plans exceeded the allowed maximum of 60 guest rooms in violation of zoning law section 125-68Z. A copy of the ZEO's decision is attached as Exhibit 2. Section 4, appeal to the ZBA and the ZBA's review. The applicant has appealed the ZEO's determination to the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals, ZBA. In that appeal, the applicant asserts that the ZEO erred in her determination that the definition of guest room is defined as a unit of guest accommodations reserved by one guest or party. The applicant further asserts that in the hospitality industry, accommodations for one guest or party are commonly described using the term key. Thus, by this definition, the applicant asserts that the term guest room in the zoning law should be interpreted to refer to a keyed unit, which may consist of multiple rooms rented to one guest or party. Thus, the issue before the board is the proper definition and application of the term guest room, as that term is used in the zoning law, section 125-68Z, in connection with a proposed hotel use. The ZEO's determination dated June 23rd, 2020 was filed on June 30th, 2020. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on August 25th, 2020, and has paid the requisite fee. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the filing of the ZEO's decision appealed from, and thus the application is timely as required by section 125-125B of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. This appeal was deemed complete and accepted by this board on September 16th, 2020. On September 16th, 2020, this appeal was classified as a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, because it is an application for an interpretation on appeal from an administrative decision from the town ZEO, reference 6 New York CRR section 617.5C37. No further review is required pursuant to SECRA. A public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and because of COVID-19 pandemic was held virtually pursuant to the New York State Governor's Executive Order 202.1. The public was afforded the opportunity to view and participate during this public hearing. The public hearing was opened on October 21st, 2020. During the course of the public hearing, we received written and oral testimony from Mr. Kemp on behalf of the applicants, as well as 2 members of the public, Christopher Capo and Nancy Shomo. The public hearing was closed on October 21st, 2020. Pursuant to zoning law section 125-125F1, we must issue our decision in cases within 62 days from the close of the public hearing. And as an aside, this is actually within 62 days, although the applicant was gracious enough to provide an extra day just in case we needed it. But doing the math and figuring it on our fingers and toes, we figured out that we're within the 62 days. Findings of fact and conclusions of law. Our appellate jurisdiction includes the authority to review interpretations or decisions made by local administrative official charged with the making interpretation determinations of the zoning law in the first instance. In this case, that administrative official is the town's ZEO. The basis of our authority is set forth in zoning law section 11, section 125-124A, which states orders, requirements, decisions, interpretations, and determinations. The zoning board of appeals may reverse or affirm wholly or partially, or may modify the order, requirement, decision, interpretation, or decision appealed from, and shall make such order, requirement, decision, interpretation, or determination as in its opinion ought to have been made by the administrative official, i.e. the zoning enforcement officer or code enforcement officer charged with the administration and enforcement of this zoning chapter, and to that end shall have all the power of the administrative official from whose order, requirement, or decision the appeal is taken. In this exercise of appellate power, it has been held that it is not the ZBA's function merely to decide whether the enforcement officer's action was arbitrary or capricious. Rather, the board must conduct a de novo review. That is, it must review all the facts which form the basis of the enforcement officer's decision and must decide the case as though it were standing in the shoes of the enforcement officer. In doing so, the ZBA is not bound by the ZEO's determination and does not have to afford any deference to it. In approaching the interpretation question before us, there are court decisions which provide guidance in the process to be followed. The state's highest court has described the process to be followed when interpreting a statute. In the matter of Raritan Development Corp. Versus Gaston Silva, cite on that is 91 AD 2nd 98, 1997, the court said, this court has long applied the well-respected plain meaning doctrine in fulfillment of its judicial role in deciding statutory construction appeals. We agree that it is fundamental that a court, in interpreting a statute, should attempt to effectuate the intent of the legislature, but we have correspondingly and consistently emphasized that where the statutory language is clear and unambiguous, the court should construe it so as to give effect to the plain meaning of the words used. The court said further, we have provided further clear teaching and guidance that absent ambiguity, the courts may not resort to rules of construction to broaden the scope and application of a statute, because no rule of construction gives the court discretion to declare the intent of the law when the words are unequivocal. Hence, when looking at statutory interpretation and construction, the first and foremost step is to look at the statutory context to see if its meaning is plain. Following this guidance, the simplest and most straightforward means of ascertaining the definition of this term is to fix on the words themselves. Although guest rooms is used in the plural, the 125, section 125-68Z, it is the term guest room which is at issue in this case. The term uses the singular to identify a guest and also uses the singular to associate a single room with a guest. If we were to be making arrangements to rent a guest room at a hotel, our expectation would be that the hotel would furnish us with a room in which to stay and sleep. This simple interpretation of these words comports with our own common sense understanding of that term based on these words, and this accords the term its reasonable and most natural interpretation. But this is not just a common sense meaning of the term. The interpretation of the term finds support when looking at how the term is commonly defined for general use. In her determination, the ZEO relied upon two dictionary definitions of the term, which provided its plain meaning. These definitions supported her determination that the plain and simple meaning of guest room was a description of a single bedroom for a guest. Consulting dictionary definitions of a word or term is an objective method of ascertaining the common definition of that word or term, especially where the dictionary definitions show a consistency of meaning. In addition to the two dictionary definitions cited by the ZEO, we found still more dictionary definitions of the term, which support the plain meaning of the term attributed to it by the ZEO in her decision. Together with the definitions cited by the ZEO, these additional definitions establish a consistency of accepted meaning of the term in terms of ordinary use of that language. We found the following dictionary definitions of the term. The online version of the Oxford English Dictionary defines guest room as 1, a spare bedroom in a house, 1.1, a bedroom in a hotel or guest house. The online version of the Cambridge Dictionary defines guest room as a bedroom in a house for visitors to sleep in. The online free dictionary defines guest room as 1, guest room, a bedroom that is kept for the use of guests, a bedchamber, bedroom, sleeping accommodation, sleeping room, chamber, a room used primarily for sleeping. The consistency of these dictionary definitions of the term guest room confirm the plain meaning of the words used to comprise the term and confirm the simple definition of the term. Hence, while not defined in the zoning law, we find that the meaning of the term guest room is manifest from the words used and that the proper definition of the term is as a single bedroom for a guest. Thus, our determination agrees with the interpretation provided by the ZEO that guest room is defined as a single bedroom unit. Although the applicant asserts that the hotel industry uses a guest room as keyed units, which may vary in size and number of rooms, we do not find this argument to be persuasive, especially on the record before us. Our task in an interpretation is to determine the meaning of the term in the zoning law. Nowhere in the zoning law is there any mention of the term keys or keyed units or other similar term in connection with hospitality accommodations. Moreover, other than the assertions made by Mr. Kemp, and I think we should take out, there's a little section, and maybe this is a prior draft. It says in his testimony of Mr. Kemp, I don't know if you guys are reading along, that should be taken out. It should read, moreover, other than the assertions made by Mr. Kemp, no evidence was presented to us that would lead us to conclude that the plain meaning of the term guest room, as that term would be understood in ordinary usage by ordinary people, has the key associated meaning that is advocated by the applicant. In addition to the plain meaning, the definition that we have attributed to the term makes sense when viewed in light of another provision of zoning law section 125-68, which also utilizes the term. Zoning law section 125-68Z1 utilizes the term guest room in connection with the quantitative requirements and limits that the zoning law places on hotel uses. That section prescribes the following for hotel uses. The minimum lot area shall be 10 acres for the first 16 guest rooms, plus an additional 6,000 square feet of lot area for each additional guest room provided. The maximum number of guest rooms shall not exceed 60. The quantitative definition of a guest room is essential to the proper functioning of this provision. The number of guest rooms permitted for a hotel use is determinative for the minimum lot area of the property. It is logical that the use of the term guest room was for a single bedroom so as to establish a standard unit of measurement for density purposes. If the term guest room were to be interpreted as fluid and a function of the definition attributed to that term by each particular hotel use applicant, that interpretation would destroy the utility of that term for the purposes of establishing and limiting density of hotel uses. Without incorporating a fixed quantity into the definition, it would be impossible to fairly and reasonably apply the uniform density limits set forth in zoning law section 125-68Z1. The use of the term guest room in section 125-68Z1 provides an insight into how the town board intended the term to be used in the zoning law. While the plain meaning of the term is sufficient to accord its definition, even if for argument's sake the term were to be viewed as having some ambiguity, this use of the term in section 125-68Z1 would establish the town's intent in the use of the term. According to New York State law, the legislative intent is to be ascertained from the words and language used, and the statutory language is generally construed according to its natural and most obvious sense without resorting to an artificial or forced construction. In the context of the foregoing, the natural and most obvious use of the term in this provision is the quantitative definition of the term as a single bedroom for a guest. And this is entirely consistent with and supportive of the plain meaning we have attached to the term as described above. The proposed layouts from the applicant, as shown as Exhibit 1, depict multiple rooms, more similar to a layout of an apartment than to a guest room meant for sleeping accommodations. For the reasons set forth above, we agree with the ZEO's determination that the accommodation accommodation layouts proposed by the applicant would count as multiple guest rooms and therefore exceed the maximum allowed 60 guest rooms. Now therefore be it resolved, based on all of the findings of fact and the conclusions of the law described above, and upon the reasoning described above, as follows. Section 1, for the reasons set forth above, we uphold the ZEO's interpretation that the term guest room as used for hotel use in the town of Rhinebeck zoning law section 125-67Z is defined as a single bedroom for a hotel guest or guests. Section 2, also for the reasons set forth above, we further uphold the ZEO's determination that the guest accommodation layouts proposed by the applicant in attached Exhibit 1 to this resolution creates multiple guest rooms and exceeds the maximum allowed 60 guest rooms. And before we vote on the resolution, discussion. Don't be shy.
I have a couple minor typographical issues, which I mean, we can go over now, or we can,
We might as well go over them now.
all right. On the first page, the paragraph, there's no paragraph 5. By the way, some of these,
You're right.
some of I have the track changes version, so some of these maybe that's the only thing on that page. And then if you skip to paragraph as you already you got this thing on paragraph 27. Moreover, other than the assertions made by Mr. Kemp in his testimony of Mr. Kemp.
Yeah, I took that out.
Okay. And on the next page, paragraph 30, town board intended the term to be used.
Yeah.
Okay. And on paragraph 32, layouts proposed by the applicant as opposed to of the applicant. You see that?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
That's it.
Okay.
Sure there's more, but that's all I found.
All
Well,
right,
as for
great.
substance, I agree with the plain language approach, and using straightforward definitions makes complete sense. And if we didn't, we'd be going against decades of precedent, right? So.
I agree with the plain language meaning as well. And the other thing is if you adopt the other argument, then if you have a keyed door, you can have as many bedrooms as you want, essentially. So and it just totally goes against the rationale of the law, which is to keep density I don't want to say to a minimum, but to control density. And if you have the key argument, you're not controlling density, because behind the key door you could have as many rooms as you want, and that defeats the purpose. So to me, it was I felt very comfortable, and it comports with what we talked about at the last meeting. So I think it reads nicely. I applaud our counsel for assisting us in getting this resolution into very nice shape. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, comments before we do a roll call?
No, I agree with everything you said there. That just makes sense.
I concur with comments, Scott, from both you and Dave. And I think it reflects the conversation that we had at the last meeting.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Technically, no.
Okay.
But you'll get a copy of the resolution.
Sure.
So, but we're just supposed to read it, talk about
No
it,
problem.
and
Yep.
whatever. But
No problem.
okay.
Scott, I just have a quick edit in addition to the ones that Tim provided, which I agree with. Under the now therefore be resolved section 1, It should be section 12568Z, not 67Z.
Okay,
Change that
Yeah.
to reflect it.
okay. All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I'm total agreement.
Okay. All right, so at this time, I would make a motion that we approve the resolution as read with the corrections that have been noted. Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, and we'll do a roll call now. Tim Econopoli,
Yes.
Scott Bergen, yes. Catherine Clark,
yes.
Tim Allenbrook,
Yes.
and last and not least, David Tobias.
And least in this case, yes.
All right. Well, that is all that is on the agenda for this evening. Again, just before we adjourn, I just want to say thank you again to David for the 5 years of great service, great attendance, and we'll miss you. And it's going to be tough to find a suitable replacement for you, but we'll try. And you can-
Huzza.
I want to say thanks to Dave too. Dave, it's been great working with you and really appreciated your preparation and the sharp mind that you brought to every meeting. And it's nice that you turned out to be the Cal Ripken Jr. of ZBA members as well, never missing a meeting.
Yes.
Okay, don't make me cry here, folks.
We're not trying to make you cry. We're just trying to give you so many compliments that you'll be shamed into returning.
Well, thank you
So,
all. It's been a real pleasure. And I know that I will see you all around town because we are neighbors.
That's right.
I hope so.
Okay, great. Well, everybody have a very Merry Christmas. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, I hope you get a couple more presents. I think we have 1 or 2 more days left. And if you celebrate anything else, have a great time. And let's hope that we have a much better year than this rotten 2020.
It can't be any worse.
Don't say that.
Careful.
You never know. But everybody, I want to say thank you to the board for, a great year, doing a lot of really good work under very difficult circumstances. I want to thank the board's legal counsel for just doing a great job with this. And of course, I cannot forget the best by far ever, the greatest of all time, ZBA clerk.
Yeah.
Hedges, for
Yes.
keeping this,
Oh, Chris.
the glue that keeps this organization together. She is the person who does the impossible and makes me look good. So
Wow.
I just want to say thank you, or as good as I can.
And
Thank you.
I do want to say Chris helps us in a million different ways also, and really makes life easier for us. So Chris, we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. You guys are great to work with as well. I'm very lucky to have the board and the support from you and Kim as I do. So thank you guys.
All
And
right, I
your
think
your Christmas tree is gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've complimented each other enough for the year. So anyway, have a great holiday season, everybody. We'll see you in January. Chris, you expect we're going to have a couple of applications?
Yes, yes. January 20th, I think our next meeting is. So we
Right.
should have a couple new applications. Yeah.
And if we don't by the 4th, then I guess, John, we can skip the meeting, but with our luck, we'll have a couple of new applications. So,
Yes.
all right, everybody, have a great night and have a great holiday season.
Remember to adjourn.
Yeah.
Scott.
See you next year. Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Okay, seconded.
Second.
Do I really need to do a roll call?
No, I think we'll just do a quick aye.
Okay, everybody, aye.
Aye.
There you
All
go.
right.
Thank
We'll see you later, everybody. Take
Have a
care.
nice day.
Thank you.